Here are my 10 questions for atheists.
Well, let's get into answering those questions, though it doesn't matter how many times questions get asked or who responds. It seems no one ever listens to the answers. So here are 10 annoying questions that may or may not lead to concluding there might actually be a god. Well, I really doubt it. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, and then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying, in the hope that some folks who also don't believe get some reassurance that they're not alone in their non-belief. This is Braxton Hunter. He hosts Trinity Radio and has 10 questions for atheists. Most of the time, when I've seen these questions, it seems as though it's meant to be a few gotcha moments. But maybe this time it'll be different, and either the questions will stump an atheist and they'll start believing, or the theist asking the questions will listen to the answers and go, well, maybe it wasn't a god. And maybe there is a logical explanation, but we shall see. But before we do answer some questions, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell, and we can question whether the algorithm is doing the right job and suggests more videos like this to you. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. Turtle M, Chris Sears, Eric Mishima, Dwayne Young and Steve Cross. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows loaves upon you all. More hen. Questions. Go!
Here, I hope my atheist interlocutors will consider these questions deeply without giving glib answers. These aren't meant to be gotcha questions, though I'm not asking for no reason. I expect you will have answers, and I want to hear what the most sincere among you have to say. With that, here are my 10 questions for atheists.
Hey, listen, I'm not against questions that make you reconsider your position on certain things.
What facts about reality that you and I agree are real facts about the way the world is, does your worldview account for, but my Christianity doesn't account for, or at least doesn't account for well? And for those of you that would point out atheism isn't a worldview, I'm talking about you, your worldview that includes atheism.
I'm not even sure what this question is. What do you mean by account for? Real facts about the way the world is? You'd have to be specific. I'm sorry if that's not an answer you'd like, but it's a bit of a broad, non-specific question. A bit like, which is the correct colour?
I can't think of any. Christianity accounts for evil, suffering, the existence of other religions.
But how on earth does that make it true? Isn't the Christian answer, God did it for most things? That doesn't mean there is a God. You're missing a rather large step there, that being proving the God that you claim does the things.
Including supernatural events in those other religions?
Christianity explains the supernatural events in other religions. When has supernatural stuff ever happened outside of stories and hallucinations and all that crap?
Science and differences among different denominations of Christianity.
Christianity explains differences between different types of Christianity as a weird flex and still doesn't demonstrate the truth of it.
But I can think of many things that the most common worldviews that include atheism don't answer as well as I think Christianity does.
Please, just list them and then let's see what the explanation is.
Like universal supernatural claims, universal religious experiences.
God did it isn't an explanation. And how can you tell the difference between a regular experience and a supernatural or religious experience? How can you tell an experience wasn't because of Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her? All powerful giraffes work in mysterious ways too, you know.
Morality, near-death experiences, beauty.
Morality. Not being a shit person to make the world a safe place for our children and their children. Near-death experiences. I have a friend who actually temporarily died and didn't have any kind of experience. Because maybe he's an atheist, his brain didn't search for meaning and a way to explain away what actually happened to him. Beauty? Please. It's 2023. Let's not even touch the look at the trees argument or point out that not everything is quote-unquote beautiful. I know a couple who have a daughter that had pulmonary valve stenosis, which thankfully after years of treatment has gone. They thanked God for making it go. If life was beautifully created, why would a God give an innocent child born to very religious parents this disease? It's bloody stupid if you ask me.
The rapid expansion of the early church.
People follow people. Other religions that have nothing to do with Christianity also grew fast. You know what else is growing more and more every day? Non-belief.
The events surrounding the life and death of Jesus of Nazareth.
Stories about something don't make them true. There are stories about Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, and her miraculously turning river water into pina coladas and feeding 6,000 people with one coconut. Oh, magic giraffes are awesome.
And our shared longing for purpose and meaning.
Meaning and Christianity don't go hand in hand. The meaning of Christianity is to give your life over to an undemonstrated being and prepare to tell it how good it is for forever. In a floating cloud land. My self-given meaning is to make others have the best time with me whilst I'm still alive to do that. It's very easy.
So what is it that Christianity doesn't answer as well as your worldview?
Okay, let's sum it up. You say a God did it. I say prove the God. That's Christianity, right? Mine is that it's okay to say, I don't know until science can demonstrate a natural explanation. Is that okay? Good.
If your definition of atheism is merely that it's a lack of belief in God and you're just waiting to be convinced, but then you speak of him as though he's in some way synonymous with Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, or fairies.
Or Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her.
Doesn't that at least send the message to your listeners that you actually believe that there is no God? After all, these are entities and beings that you likely believe do not exist. And if your response is that you merely lack a belief in Santa Claus and don't actively believe that he does not exist, doesn't that sound a little disingenuous, honestly?
Not really. I'm of the mindset now that a God doesn't exist. Just as Santa, fairies and ghosts don't meet the burden of proof of their existence, neither do any gods. So I personally conclude that there aren't any. Atheism is a lack of belief in God. There are different ways that you can lack that belief, but then the end result is essentially the same if you think about it.
When atheism becomes a part of someone's worldview, they typically change their positions on other issues like abortion, sexual morality, and a number of other things.
Yeah, no, I've always tried to not be a to my fellow humans. My views on abortion have especially always been the same, and freedom of sexual expression as long as consent is involved, yeah, well, I'm down.
I actually have several videos of well-known atheists saying that there's nothing wrong with prostitution.
Oh, no.
That they hope their children don't save themselves until marriage, and that sex workers should be put up on a pedestal no different than the military. I didn't use those here because I didn't want to seem combative to individuals, specifically the individuals who made those statements. But even if you didn't become an atheist just so you could sin, and I believe you, do you at least understand why those moves could send that message to people who might say that to you?
Wait, people stop believing in a God so they can sin? Sin isn't really a concept outside of religion. People don't stop believing in a God just to have sex, you know.
If it's a lack of belief sort of atheism, what is it? Is it 50-50, 60-40, 75-25? And at what point do you feel disingenuous saying that you merely lack a belief as opposed to leaning towards, I believe that God does not exist?
I don't think that's how it works. You can't 50% not believe in a God. You either are convinced or you're not convinced. Nothing convinces me, but feel free to offer something that might convince me that your God actually exists.
Now, I know we've all got our talking points, but I want you to struggle to be as sincere with yourself as you can right now. Doesn't it bother you a little bit that when we come to talk about the origins of the universe, and if there's a multiverse, the origin of that too, that the only real options you've got besides God is a past infinite universe, which is impossible?
Whoa. How do you know that it's impossible? Isn't a God that existed or exists outside of everything impossible?
Or the universe coming to exist uncaused out of nothing, or something far less clear than even those? It seems that for any worldview that includes atheism, there's a massive blind spot when it comes to the origin of the universe.
And the only explanation you currently have is a God did it, because a book says so. But who wrote that? If there was nothing and then suddenly it was written that a God made everything, who was there to witness it? No one, other than the God. And so you just have to accept that a God did it because it said so. And I can tell you that before the universe was created or whatever, Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leave be upon her, ate any possible gods to summon the cosmic poop needed to crap everything into existence. How do you know that didn't happen?
And all the attempts to try and circumvent that problem seem desperate and at least far less likely than theism. My question isn't just what do you typically say about this, because I'm well aware of the responses. My question is simply this: when you step away from the debate mode that it's so easy for us all to get into online, doesn't this issue destabilize you a little bit? It seems to fit really poorly with any worldview that includes atheism.
No, it doesn't. It's absolutely okay to say, I don't know, instead of just making something up and then thinking people are stupid for not accepting your made-up thing.
Of the arguments for God's existence, is there one that to you seems more interesting than the rest? Is there one that for you actually does weigh in favor of theism? Which one?
This one's easy. None of them. Not one argument for a God's existence is remotely convincing to me. Sorry, buddy, I'm very much unconvinced.
Most atheists I've met humbly admit that they don't think they can have absolute certainty about much of anything. But what they want from the Christian is a demonstration that God exists or that Christianity is true. Well, when we offer the reasons to believe that we do have, those are typically deemed not good enough.
I can't help it if you believe something for silly reasons.
So what sort of evidence, if any, would be enough to convince you?
I would be convinced of a God's existence if a God actually showed up itself. And if it really was a God, it would know that that is all I need. And it would also know that getting regular old humans to try and convince me by using their feelings and anecdotes isn't enough to convince me. If a God actually existed, it would know what it would take to prove itself to me. So perhaps it just doesn't care if I don't believe in it, or maybe it doesn't want me to believe in it, or maybe it doesn't exist. And if anyone comes at me with, you have to open your heart, or allow God inside, listen, if a God is that weak that it requires me to do the groundwork to then be convinced of it, it's not really that powerful of a being anyway.
Do you know? And since it's often a conversation stopper, let's take experimental reproducibility off the table, since that's not even always necessary for science.
Oh, okay.
To what extent did social and moral issues start you down the path toward your atheism?
I mean, I've never really believed in a God, so nothing?
That is to say, the typical Christian or religious views on sexuality, gender, rights, and acts and commands of God in the Old Testament. It seems that many deconversion stories online begin with, or at least include, LGBT issues, purity culture, or hell as instrumental in the deconversion process.
Typical Christian mindset right there, that folks can't just be brought up not really believing in it in the first place.
It strikes me that what should matter most is the truth and not what we might prefer that the truth were.
How is it that they always get it, but then they really don't at the same time? I do care about what's true, which is why I no longer believe in anything supernatural. And until it can be demonstrated, there really is no reason that I see to believe in any of it anyway.
I honestly wonder how much those issues and ones like them motivate the deconversion rather than all this talk about evidence.
Well, instead of wondering, why don't you ask people? Oh, I guess you are. Never mind.
Can you name the last 3 academic books you read by theists on the subject? How long ago did you read them?
No, because I'm too busy reading other fantasy novels usually.
Or is most of your understanding of apologetics and atheism from non-scholarly internet sources, pop-level books, and, let's face it, YouTube videos?
No, I wasn't convinced because of my own mind. How educated someone is has nothing to do with why I should or shouldn't believe. Sure, watching videos and reading books and going to conventions and all that has taught me better ways of articulating myself, but the fact remains, I was a non-believer in God before the internet was as big as it is now.
And be honest with yourself about this. Anyone can Google up a list of books and paste them in the comments section. But I want to know, are you getting the best from the other side?
The other side? That being the ones trying to convince me of something that hasn't ever been demonstrated outside of ideas, thoughts, and feelings. I don't think I'm getting the best in that case. Who do I need to speak to about getting the best?
Let's finish with a pretty common one. If you found out today, to your satisfaction, that Christianity were true, would you accept God's authority, repent of your sins, and trust Jesus as your king?
Absolutely not. Given what I've learned about the Christian God, if it was demonstrated to be real, would I follow and worship it? Nah. A murderous, jealous, petty, invisible, which is weirdly exactly the same as non-existent being. I'm sorry, I'm better than that. I'm good. And so it seems those questions didn't actually offer anything else other than suggesting that Christians can pretty much answer any question with, a God did it. Well, great. But you know how it goes, believers. You do need to demonstrate that God exists, rather than just asserting things happened because of it. Maybe you'd have answered these questions differently, though. Let me know in the section below. I'm going to skeptic this as another annoying round of questions answered. A big thank you to this month's top-level ticks on Patreon: Addy Rockart, the Enixes, Elizabeth, Jakari, and the absolute lunatic Travis, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.